Welcome to Understanding Wealth, day number 14, part number 14. For those of you joining for the first time, my name is Mensah Oteh, and I'm delighted and excited to be here with you. Today is the final part of the Understanding Wealth session we started approximately 14 days ago. I started by explaining what wealth, in my understanding and in my opinion, was all about. We talked about the lowest level of wealth I called physical wealth, expressed in various ways, one of which is health and the other financial wealth. And then I talked about mental wealth and psychological wealth. And we started 2 days ago talking about the highest level of wealth, spiritual wealth. And today is the final day where we conclude everything we've shared over the past few weeks. I'm going to be talking about spiritual wealth because I believe that spiritual wealth is the most important part of the wealth equation. Now, everything in life comes in parts, and that is no different with wealth. Like success, it comes in parts. So one of the things I mentioned and I shared with you at the start was it's possible to have financial wealth, it's possible to have material wealth, but still be lacking in mental and spiritual wealth. Similarly, it's possible to have spiritual wealth, but be lacking in the other areas of wealth. And for you to have a complete wealth experience, I call it holistic wealth, you need all three. And so what we've tried to do over the last few days is share some ideas and some strategies that anyone can adopt, anyone can apply, and anyone can use to change and create the life that they want. In today's session, spiritual wealth, I'm not really going to be talking about spirituality. I'm not going to be talking about religion. It has nothing to do with that. I'm going to be sharing some of what I consider to be 4, perhaps 5 key components of what it takes to really experience wealth on the spiritual level. Now, I started from day one explaining a simple concept. The concept was that we all have 3 parts to who we are. Now, let this represent a picture of who I am, of me. I know it doesn't look that great, but it serves a purpose. And I said that all of us have been born uniquely. We're all very special. However, you've got to understand yourself in order to really have a really experience that is worth sharing with other people. In other words, what we call life, the journey through life, is lived to the fullest if you understand you. And I started by sharing that there are 3 parts to each of our personality. Some people call it a trinity, 3 levels of understanding. I said that I'm a spirit. I live in a physical body and I have a mind. So what we call life is a journey, me as a spirit, in time, passing through, and so I have a point of starting the journey, and a time comes when I finish that journey. But to live in this world that we call Earth, or whatever you want to call it, I need a physical body because I've come from eternity living in time. But to bridge the gap between the physical, which is what I need to experience everything around, and the spiritual, which is who I really am, I have a mind. The mind bridges both. The mind enables me to achieve things in the physical that under normal circumstances may not have been possible. Every one of us operates on 3 levels of understanding. If you understand this concept, then wealth becomes really easy to achieve and experience. And part of the reason for that is because there are 3 levels of wealth: spiritual, mental, physical. Each of them corresponding to the 3 levels of your personality. On the physical level, we're talking about health and material wealth. On the mental level, we're talking about your mind, imagination, and living a wealth consciousness, having a consciousness in relation to health, wealth, prosperity, happiness, joy. But that's all on the mental level. On the spiritual level, it's you expressing your true nature. So, the three levels of wealth are connected. However, they also operate independently. We've dealt with physical, we've dealt with mental, we're concluding spiritual. And so let me start today's session by making a few initial opening statements. As a spiritual person or as a spiritual being, I have to express myself. In other words, I have to express my true nature. When I express my true nature, I'm living in that state of who I really am. Now, if all I do through life is focus on my physical, if all I do is feed the physical body I have and the mind, then my spiritual nature is deprived. It's not really allowed to express itself. And until you express your spiritual nature, the wealth equation is not complete. So, I'm going to share 4 pathways or 4 ways in which you can express that spiritual nature that you have. And in the process, you get to experience wealth on the spiritual level. And what you find is, by experiencing wealth on the spiritual level, it transcends down to the mental and then down to the material. The first thing I'm going to talk about in terms of spiritual wealth is a word that I love very much. Purpose. Purpose. Everything created has a purpose. Every one of us has a purpose. And purpose is simply meaning, intent, reason. Behind the word purpose is the word why. The word why. The word why simply identifies the reason for your existence. If you understand the purpose for anything, then you know exactly how to use it. And so each of us has a purpose. Those who are living in the spiritual level of wealth understand their purpose for life. They're really living. You see, very few of us are really living life. Very many are just dying. I say most people get to the end of their lives and they never get to find out why they were born. And I think that is the greatest tragedy that anyone could experience, to live 70, 80, 90 years, perhaps less than that, but not know why you were born. Unfortunately, the journey and the experience, what I call the adventure of life, is made perfect if you know why you're here. You see, if you know the why for anything, you can achieve any how, but also you would understand the what to do. So many of us drift through life. We're experimenting with life. Life was never meant to be an experiment. Part of the reason we're experimenting is because we're trying to find our purpose externally. And unfortunately, until you go internally, you can't find it. So, to experience wealth spiritually, to express your true nature, you have to be doing what you were born to do. If I go to the Red Sea and I go diving or snorkeling down in Egypt, if you've gone diving and you've gone below water level, you get to see a different world. Below water, you get to see some of the great fishes and some of the beautiful sea animals. One of the things I find remarkable, and one of the reasons I love diving, is because when you go below water level, or below land level and go into the sea, you get to see the genius in a fish. You get to see some of these animals and sea mammals living in their natural environment, doing what they were born to do. Now, if you walked into a supermarket and picked up a fish, you might look at a fish and say, well, this fish doesn't have any intelligence. It has nothing to offer. The same fish that seems to be a genius below water, if you pull out that fish to land, in a few minutes, it starts to gasp for air, and in a short while it will die. Why? You've taken it away from its environment. You've taken it away from where its genius comes alive. You've taken it away from where it was meant to be. Similarly, if you look around, you look on the sky and you see a bird flying, I don't think you've ever heard of a bird saying, listen, I'm going to take a rest. I think I'm taking a vacation. I've had enough of flying and I find it a little bit boring. Unfortunately, humans, we are the only life form that fails to reach our true potential. The reason is simply because we don't really know what our purpose is. We don't know what that environment that we should be in to enable us reach the best that we can be. You know, if you put a seed into the ground, into the soil, the seed will become a tree. The tree will grow until it reaches its maximum potential. If you uproot the tree from soil, in a short while it withers because you've disconnected it from its source. Take a bird in the air, put it in a cage, it looks very ordinary. You let it go, it starts to fly, then you can see the beauty in its creation. Every one of us has a purpose. If you want to experience true wealth, you've got to learn and discover your purpose. Now, in today's session, because I'm going to be dealing with some really critical topics, I'm not going to go into the detail of explaining how to find your purpose, where to find it, how you know you've found it, what to do, because that's a session in itself. But what I'll say is this: until you know why you're born, until you know the reason you're here, you will never really be fulfilled. There are two forms of fulfillment in life. There is artificial fulfillment. For example, you buy a wristwatch, it makes you feel good for a short period. You buy a car, it makes you feel good. All of those are what I call artificial fulfillment. You buy a house. True fulfillment comes in spirit. It's the reason why, if you meet anyone who is really living their life's purpose, living their life's calling, you can see a radiance in their eyes and a level of passion that you would wish you had if you're not living your own true life's purpose and calling. It has nothing to do with money. You see, Mother Teresa was a remarkable woman. She understood her purpose. By discovering her purpose, she understood and discovered her passion. People who have found their true passion are living. Now, because she had a purpose and a passion, she came alive and she made a difference. She changed. She touched the world. She made a difference. Until you find your purpose, you can't experience spiritual wealth. I'm going to just share with you 3 strategies on how you can find your purpose. I'm going to make it very quick. I'm not going to go into the detail, just in case there's someone out there that is perhaps thinking, I understand, but how do I find it? I've been trying to find it for such a long time. I'll say this is very simple. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Number one, no one can tell you what your purpose is because it's only made known to you. You see, I started part 2, section 2 of this series talking about the mind. And I said that there is only one mind. There is only one mind. There aren't many minds. We have 7 billion people alive today. We're all unique. There is no other person like you. There is no other like me. There will never be another like me. In the physical, there is no one like me. I'm unique. You're unique. Spiritually, you're unique. But when it comes to the mind, there is only one mind. We call this mind infinite intelligence. We call this mind divine understanding. We call this mind God. We have the same mind. And that is the reason why we all have a potential that is unlimited, because we can do whatever God and whatever we permit Him to do through us. Same mind, different arrangements of the same mind. I'll say that again. Same mind, but different arrangements. In other words, on the physical plane, we have rearranged the mind. So for example, if I said to you, what do you think about God? If you believe there is one, but also if you don't believe there is one, you have an understanding. You have your opinions. That is your arrangement of the mind. Paul said, be ye not conformed to the world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, go back and renew your mind, rearrange your mind so that it operates perfectly. We have the same mind. Those who have found their purpose understand the power of the mind. If you want to find your purpose, very simple. There are three things you need. Remember what I said. No one can tell you what it is because it's only given to you. You have to go back inside, go into your mind and search, because the answer is there for you. The answer is provided to the spirit. The mind enables you to tap into that purpose, and you manifest that purpose in the physical. There are three ways to find your purpose. Very quickly, I know it's not part of what I'm trying to teach today. Number one, emotions. Number two, energy. I know it sounds very simple. Emotions. Emotions deal with two parts: positive emotions, negative emotions. In other words, you find your purpose when you find what you love to do. We call that passion. But passion can be very misleading because passion comes in two parts. Passion reveals a part of a feeling you have towards something. Your passion comes in two parts. Something you love, but also something you hate. So you need to understand your emotions. Find out, what do I really love to do? What brings out the excitement, the inspiration, the passion in me? Often that is a sign leading you towards your purpose, but not always. Like a coin, it has to be double-sided with an edge. So you must stand on the edge and look at both sides of the coin. If you see something you love to do, that's indication number one. But it must balance itself. It must balance itself with what you hate. You see, Mother Teresa had a love for people, but it wasn't her passion, true love, that identified her purpose. She loved people, but she hated seeing people suffer, especially poor people. Now, we've all been created and born for a purpose, and part of that purpose is to make a difference, to serve other people. So we're not here through life to just have fun. We're here to serve one another. And so your purpose will always show you something that you're meant to correct in the world. And it comes in various ways. It will show you true emotion, something that causes you pain, something that causes you upset, something that causes you anger, something that you want to change in the world. See, Martin Luther King says, I have a dream that someday, you see, that was a clue to what he hated, something that caused him pain. Nelson Mandela had a dream as well. He wanted equality amongst his people. It was the pain. So I personally believe, in my opinion, that your passion reveals your purpose. However, it has to go first past what you want to change, something you want to create to make people's lives better, people's lives easier. And in identifying what you want to change, it would also show you that is something you love to do on the other side. Number one, emotions. It's very simple. Very simple. If you have passion through what you love, what excites you, and all you do is something that excites you, you get bored. But more than anything, it's an incomplete equation because you're not here for yourself. You see, a tree planted, an apple tree planted produces apple fruit. The apple fruit is not for the tree itself. It's for other people. Now I'm getting ahead of myself here because one of the things I would have been talking about as number 3 is your gifts. The apple tree doesn't eat the fruits, it produces the fruit for others. So, having something you love to do has to make a difference in the lives of other people. But it's not just about doing what you love and people liking what you do. No, it has to solve a problem. It has to create value for other people. Now, the second is energy. Now, we are energy. Science teaches you that everything is energy. As a matter of fact, if you go to science and say, what is energy? They simply say energy is. So, our purpose is revealed to us through our change in energy states. There's a place where your gifts and your talents and your skills flourish. There's a place where your gifts and your talents and your skills diminish. I take a fish, I pull out the fish from water. The fish's gifts, talents, abilities, I know he doesn't have all of those, diminish. It struggles. Put him back in water, his genius reappears, reemerges. You see, your energy, the change in your energy level identifies the environment, and this is the point here. It identifies the environment that you should be in, and that environment identifies the people that you're meant to serve. Say that again. Your energy, changing your energy states, identifies the environment you should be in. The environment identifies the people you're meant to serve. Identifying the people guides you towards your purpose. So, one way to find your purpose is simply observe. Your energy changes. For example, do you have a passion for studying a particular subject compared to any other subject? Do you have a level of energy whereby when you're doing a task, it feels as though you're doing it effortlessly? It feels as if your energy is being renewed. You don't get tired. You might be tired physically, but it's only for a short while because you're operating in the spirit and your spirit is doing what it was born to do. Is there something you do whereby as you do it, people say, you're really good at this. You do it so effortlessly and you do it much better than anyone else. Changing energy identifies a potential. It could be a sign. I'm not saying it completely will tell you what your purpose is. It could be a sign, a pathway to discovering your purpose. Finally, your gifts. Every one of us has a gift. You're born with it. You don't develop it by your strengths and hard work. You develop it through practice. But you're born with your gifts. I'm not talking about skills. I'm not talking about maybe talents. I'm talking about gifts. There's a gift you have. It's always more than one. The gift, if developed, becomes, sometimes it will lead into a talent. But there is something that you've been given to fulfill your purpose. And here is the point. You have a purpose. You're here for a reason. You're here to solve a problem. You're here to create value. So you're given what's called an ability. An ability is the gift. This comes with a potential that is unlimited. So in order to do the work for which you were born to do, your purpose, this ability has to be in a form that can be identified. We call that gifts. When you find your gift, it will make room for you. When you find your gift will identify an area that you're supposed to be in. So I started a few minutes ago talking about the apple tree, and I said an apple tree doesn't eat its apples. It produces apples for other people. What you find is when you discover your purpose, your gifts will start to glow. And the world will recognize your gift if you work on your gift. And the world will come to you for your gift. I want to say something that is rather sad but also true. A lot of people who are celebrities, in many cases, a lot of them who have gone down the path of maybe losing everything, maybe committing suicide, was because they mistook the gifts they had for themselves. So people will come to an apple tree and take the apple and walk away. They don't turn around and hug the tree and say thank you. They are attracted to your gift because your gift solves a problem they have. So you've got to understand what gifts you have, but don't confuse your gifts with yourself. You're here as a channel through which you're meant to pass part of your greatness and deposit your greatness in the world before your time is up. So your greatness is what the people need, not you. Now I'm going to say the most important part of what I've shared in the last 10 minutes. Through your emotions, through your energy, through your gifts, you discover your purpose. However, the three of these must intersect in the same place. In other words, it's possible to have something that you're passionate about, something you love to do. You watch American Idol, you watch the X Factors, you watch any talent show, you often find people who have a burning desire, passion, and excitement that is almost contagious. They get on stage before they start performing, and you're excited for them because of the excitement they enthuse. But as soon as they start singing, performing, you quickly realize something. They have the passion, they don't have the gift. It wasn't their purpose. You will always be given the gifts. Now, you may have to develop the gifts, but the seeds are there. All it needs is putting in good soil and cultivating the soil. So, emotions, energy, and gifts must intersect, meaning that there has to be an activity or something you do where you will find you have passion, you find it exciting, you love to do it, you look forward to it every day, it keeps you alive. Also, it will solve a problem for people, it will create value, but also that activity you're doing will be one whereby your energy level soars. You do it better than a lot of people. I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people. You do it effortlessly. You want to spend the most of your time studying, improving. You just find that when you doing that activity, it feels as though time is just still. But it will also be something that you're good at. You might need to develop and cultivate that gift, but you will find that you have the gifts. In other words, you have the ability to do it. You've been given the energy to do it. You've been given the sign through passion telling you this is it. But you always have the ability, because without the ability, you can't do what you were born to do. Now, in a way, I deviated from what I was hoping to talk about today, and I've spent more time talking about purpose, but I think this is one of the most important discussions anyone can have. If you understand your purpose, and if you start to live your true life's purpose, you'll find that you achieve wealth in spirit, because your spirit will be doing what it was born to do. And when your spirit and your physical body are both doing what they were meant to do, what you find is that there's a level of fulfillment you experience that cannot be put in words. So my first recommendation to finding and experiencing spiritual wealth is discover your purpose and live in your purpose. Remember this, you don't decide, you don't choose your purpose. You discern your purpose. In other words, you go inside, you go within, and you learn, you find out, you discover what your purpose is. You don't choose it. It was the reason you were born. You don't get to choose. You simply discover it. Now let's move very quickly to the next item I'm going to talk about. Number 2 is, let me start with this. A 4-letter word. Love. Love. You and I are love. So when people say, I'm trying to find love, it's simply an indication they don't really understand who they are. You express love, you don't find it. Some people say, I'm looking for love. Well, how can you look for something that you are? You simply have to go back, recognize who you are, and express what you are. You and I are love. When you express love, at the moment of expressing love, you're experiencing and you're living in true wealth. But let me qualify that so you understand that it's not applicable in all situations. The early Greeks were very wise people. They had a lot of passion. They studied a lot. Obviously, as you would know, we have a lot of great philosophers. There were Greeks that have made a difference to how we think and created a lot of what we call our ideas and ideals and philosophies and beliefs. And the early Greeks came up with what they called 4 types of love. I generally agree with it to an extent. And so when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking about every kind of love. I'm talking about a specific type of love. You see, if I were to go by the early Greeks and what they considered love to be composed of, they said that there was something called agape love. They call this divine. They call it divine love, pure love. They also identify something called like friendly love. They believe they call this filial or something like that. I may be getting the spelling wrong or the pronunciation wrong, but this dealt with the kind of love between friends, between people, acquaintances. But they also identified a third kind of love. They call this love the romantic. They call it eros, which is love that is intimate. This is intimate love between loved ones. A man and their spouse or their partner, a woman and their spouse or their partner. But it was intimacy. And finally, they identified another kind of love. This was love between brothers, between sisters. So I would call this brotherly love. This was love that a mother might have for a child might have for a mother, where there was a connection, maybe family connection. I think they call this strego or sterego love. But these were 4 types of love. I'm not talking about brotherly love. I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm not talking about friendly love. I'm talking about agape love, divine love. I'm talking about the love that you have for another person, not because of what you expect in return. You see, with all of these other loves, there is a condition. There's a condition linked with your love. Friends would say, I expect you to treat me respectfully. I expect you to show me a level of honor, a level of appreciation, and in return, we can maintain this friendship. If you violate the terms of this friendship too often, then I walk away. That's understandable. Now, if you treated someone really badly every single day, every day, it gets to a point where they say, listen, as much as I love you and as much as I like you, I deserve more, and they walk away. Similarly, even between brothers, between parent and child, there's a level of expectation. I'm going to love you and you're going to love me back in return, but also there are some conditions. You're going to respect me, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So there are conditions. And so that's conditioned love. All of these are conditioned love. The early Greeks said that agape love was unconditional. Now, I don't understand unconditional love. I don't think I've reached that level of understanding. But I want to share my limited level of understanding. And here's what I want to say. Agape love is what we call true love. When you have agape love, it's when you start to live a really wealthy life in spirit. And the reason is simply because every one of us is from the same source. Therefore, we are all the same. Now, we might be different in physical form, but remember what I said, we have the same mind. There is only one God. There is only one Creator. And that exists in every one of us. And so, pure love is love whereby you see someone, but you see the God in them. In other words, you see yourself in them expressed differently. That requires a level of understanding that is beyond what we've learned in school. That requires study. That requires awareness. That requires a lot of wisdom, whereby you get to a point where you see others like yourself. And that is why the greatest commandment was simply love your neighbor like you love yourself. So first of all, you have to understand and recognize who you are. Recognize that greatness, that good, that God in you. And love yourself. Then you can love another person. So you see, you walk down the street, you see someone who's been perhaps nasty to you, and you still have love. That is divine love. That is difficult to achieve, I know. I'm not suggesting it's easy, it's difficult to achieve. Mother Teresa had a level of divine love, and that is the reason why a story says that she was walking down the streets of Calcutta one evening, and she walked across a really scruffy, poor woman lying on the streets. She was dirty, smelly, tired. She had bruises all over her. And Mother Teresa picked her up and took her back to her house, put her in the bathtub and started to wash her, clean her wounds. And all along, this woman was abusing Mother Teresa, and she was saying very foul words and cursing her. And Mother Teresa just smiled and just kept cleaning her wounds. And the woman abused and abused and abused Mother Teresa, and it got to a point where she got tired. And she looked at Mother Teresa and said, "Why are you doing this?" And Mother Teresa said, "Because I love you." Now that is agape love. Very few of us would ever experience that, I know. But if you want to experience true wealth, that's your path. And guess what? Love can only do what it does best. It has to give. Love has to love. You see, love is incomplete without a receiver. Love is incomplete without a receiver. So when you have love, you will always find someone to give your love, irrespective of whether you get it back in return, because love finds completion when it's given and when it's received. And you cannot give love to someone or something that doesn't appreciate it. So, for example, I could love this board, but this board cannot receive my love. So, it's only complete when the receiver is similar to the giver. So if you want to experience wealth at the spiritual level, you've got to study love. And agape love can be studied, it can be practiced, then it becomes a lifestyle. So you can live in agape love by choice. I know how difficult it is by choice. Those who have that level of wealth, we look at the Dalai Lama, for example, and he always has a way of being very calm. He always has love. He always has this level of abundance because, I would imagine, he sees himself in everyone. He sees the good. He sees the great. He sees the God in everyone. Now, I've got to move forward now because I've spent some time so far. Let's talk about the third pathway to living a wealthy life. Happiness. Happiness. It's a pathway to wealth. Happiness, however, is not a science. In other words, there aren't principles that you have to follow. Now, I started part one when I dealt with the physical level of wealth, and I said that wealth creation, material wealth creation, is a science. There is a science to getting rich. There is a science to achieving material wealth. It's an exact science. It requires understanding of the laws of the universe, the laws of money. It requires understanding the rules of the game of money. It requires application and obedience to the principles and the laws of money. And like a soil, it's neutral. Wealth and material wealth is neutral. If you put seed in the soil, because the soil is rich, it will give you a harvest. So it doesn't care whether you're white or black, young, old, small, big, it doesn't really care. All it understands is the seed principle. Like a combination lock. You put in the right numbers in the right sequence, the lock opens up. It doesn't care who puts in the lock, puts in the code. Happiness, on the other hand, is not a science. Happiness is an art. In other words, it's expressed differently. It has to be woven, it has to be designed, it has to be studied. You can study happiness, it can be studied. You have to practice it, but you have to choose and tailor happiness to your lifestyle. You see, fulfillment is one of the parts of the success equation that most people don't understand. Success comes in three parts. We have what we call achievement. In other words, goal achievement, productivity, achieving a goal, producing. We all need that. This is where we talk about progress, growth. You are managing director of a company. You then grow, achieve the vision, get a much bigger job, create more. You're growing, you're progressing, you're achieving your goals. That's achievement. This is the physical level of wealth. You have money. You have all the wealth materially. You have good health. The question is, are you happy? you must combine achievement with what we call fulfillment. Fulfillment is happiness, joy, excitement. This is the art form. Is unique to each and every one of us. You have to design it for yourself, because you see, what makes me productive may not make you feel productive, and what makes me happy may not make you happy. So you have to study yourself and find out what makes me happy, and then live in that happiness. You see, a lot of people are trying every day to live the life that other people have demanded that they live. They would never have wealth. I'm sorry to say this, if you're living your life to other people's standards, if you're running this race of life based on standards set by other people, based on a destination decided by someone else, you can't be fulfilled. You've got to take charge of your life. You've got to take ownership for your life. You've got to decide what the rules of this race should be. Choose the finish line. Decide what brings you fulfillment. Now, this could be something silly. That's okay. This could be culture. This could be dance. Who knows? This could be maybe traveling. Remember what I said, that this is a journey through life. It's an experience. Spirit, mind, body. Spirit is always looking to express itself. Always looking for greater expression. So, the desire you have, that I have, that never goes away, will never be satisfied. We will never be satisfied in life. Anyone who says to you to be satisfied in life doesn't understand life. You should be happy with what you have. You should be grateful for what you have. But if you understand who you are, then you realize that spirit is always looking to express itself. In other words, spirit understands the first principle of life: growth, progress. And so the desire you have is looking to express itself. We have dreams and visions and goals that choose us and select us. And they want to use us as vessels to express themselves to the world. So anyone who denies themselves of desire is limiting spirit. And if you limit spirit, how can you be wealthy? Because spirit is not expressing itself. So happiness is getting to the point whereby you recognized the good in you and you're allowing that good to be expressed. But you're creating a lifestyle that allows that good to be shared, to be used in such a way that it creates for you a level of excitement, but for others a level of excitement. So there's a law called the law of karma, also referred to as the law of cause and effect, or the law of sowing and reaping. Although you can design happiness as an art, the only way you get happiness when you've designed it is to give it away. I think life is so unique and interesting. You study happiness, you learn everything you want about happiness. When you've got it down to the T, you give it away. And whatever you give away comes back to you in good measures, pressed down, shaken together, overflowing. You must give what you have in order to have it come back to you. It's a law of life. So if you want to be happy, find someone and create a happy experience for them. What you find is that happiness comes back to you. A lot of people say money will make you happy. Well, they don't understand the purpose of money. Money was never meant to make you happy. Money is there to help you create experiences for other people first, so that they can live in a pleasurable way. They can enjoy this journey, and because you're creating happiness for them, the law reciprocates, and you find happiness in creating happiness for other people. Money is there to create an environment for yourself whereby you can allow this creativity in you to come forth, so that you're not worrying about fear, bills, things to buy, things you don't have. Meditation, we all do it. Some of us are imagining every possibility of things going wrong. And I know I'm digressing, but that's okay. You can't think positive and negative at the same time. You can think positive, you can think negative, but you can't do both. A lot of people say, I don't know how to use my imagination. We use it every day. You get up, you're 5 minutes late. In your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to miss the train. I'm going to be late. You're using your imagination. It's dark in the evening, you hear a sound, your imagination goes, perhaps someone is about to break into the house. You start picturing the possibilities. Sometimes you go as far as perhaps looking around the kitchen to grab a knife, just in case they come into the house. You're using your imagination. Now, Albert Einstein said that worry is the wrong use of the imagination. So what money helps you do is create an environment where you stop using your mind to worry about things that are not really important, and you can allow that mind to be used for what is best there for, which is to create the future you want. The point I'm making is this: if you want to be wealthy spiritually, happiness is a must. You must find a way to be happy. Never leave your happiness to other people. If you're in a relationship whereby you don't feel complete except someone else is there, it means you haven't understood yourself. You haven't discovered yourself. If you're the kind of person who is depressed, disappointed, depressed to the point where you think, I don't know the purpose for life. I don't understand the purpose for life. I don't think I want to continue with this. It's a reason, it's a sign, I should say, that you haven't discovered your greatness. You haven't discovered who you are. You haven't discovered the God and the good in you. The reason is simply because everything you need to have a great life is all within. You must go deep, find that part of you, give it away. Then it comes back. So happiness is a must. You must find happiness. Now I'm going to conclude by moving to the fourth and the final item I want to talk about. And the fourth and the final item is, I should say number 4 actually. The G word, gratitude. Now you've heard many people say gratitude is the key to wealth. Very few people would disagree with that, but very few understand why. If you do not have a grateful heart, you can't be wealthy in spirit. Now you can have material possessions, and there's so many people who have everything they can afford. Everything they can afford materially they have. But they do not have gratitude. You see, gratitude is what brings you closer to the source. Now imagine this, a bank of water, and you have a tree on this side. A distance of say 10 miles. Or you have on the other side a tree next to the bank of water, approximately half a mile. Now, which of the trees do you think will have more access to the riches of this ocean in terms of nutrients, obviously, is that tree. That's what gratitude does for you. It draws you closer to the source of everything in life. Now, if you're one of those people who believes that everything you have is a product of your hard work and your efforts and everything you've done, and it rightly belongs to you, let me ask you a question. You may have put in the hard work, you may have put in the effort, you may have put in the intellect. Number one, breath. Is it yours? Life is not yours. Number two, the mind that you have that is creating all of the good stuff that you have is not yours. You didn't design your body. You may maintain it, but you didn't design it. So you see, everything that you have in life is a gift. The sun that shines down on you, the rain that waters the plants and ensures that there is food, the cloud, the stars, the fresh air, the people who help you maybe achieve your goals and dreams. You didn't have to pay for all of them. They're all gifts. Everything you have is a gift. Gratitude is recognizing the gift and recognizing the giver. Gratitude is where you convert and move away from accumulation and anticipation of more, and you move yourself into a state of appreciation and thanksgiving. Now think about this. If you have kids, obviously if you have young kids, you have to teach them gratitude. So the first point I want to make is gratitude is not inborn. It's not inborn. Gratitude is a habit that has to be learned. We're not naturally grateful. No one is born naturally grateful. We are good at griping, complaining, cursing, and looking for reasons why things are not good. We're not naturally grateful. We have to study gratitude like we study happiness. We have to make it a discipline, and then we have to make it a habit. Now, if you have young children, then you know very well that you teach them. So you give them something and you say, what do you say? And they say, thank you. And you do that regularly at a young age, and you keep doing it, and it gets to a point whereby as soon as you hand them something, they say thank you. They've developed habits. Now, you know very well if you've been around kids or teenagers that have no gratitude, and you do a kind deed for them and they just walk away, you know how you feel when you're not acknowledged. In the same way, think about yourself and your life and ask yourself the simple question: are you grateful for life? Because gratitude is what brings you true and closer to the source of everything. If you want to create wealth, spiritual wealth, you have to be grateful. Now, you don't show gratitude when things are good, when things are great. The key here is that you show gratitude at all times. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should be happy when things go wrong. No. The best way of describing this is simply to make reference to something that I've shared over the past few days. And that is that your thoughts create your experiences. Gratitude is simply a way of getting your thoughts, your feelings, and your action in the right, what we'll call state, so that you can attract more of what you want. So when you're grateful, you're applying a positive attraction. When you complain, you're radiating a negative attraction. So gratitude is a gift to yourself, whereby you position yourself internally and externally so you can receive more. So the reason you give thanks and you're grateful in all and during all times is not because things are great, it's because you're trying to obey the universal laws. You see, the law of attraction always works. Yesterday I talked about the law of attraction. And I said that the law of attraction is always preceded by a more important law that very few people understand. This is called the law of vibration. And you then have the law of action. By thought, what you want is created. By feeling and expectation, it's sent to you. By action, you receive it. So, if you want something, the way to attract it is getting the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Getting the feeling as though I've already achieved it. Set up that vibration. How would you feel? What emotions? That activates the attraction. Then act like that person you want to be. Start acting like it's already here. Then it comes to you. However, I said yesterday that these three laws, as important as they were, are secondary, because the most important law is the law of assumption, which very few people understand and very few people apply. The law of assumption simply says that you live in the end. You create the vision or the state you want in the future in your mind, then you go into that state, into that picture. You don't think of what you want, you think from what you want. In other words, you're living what you want in your mind. And by applying assumption, in other words, by saying, what I see in my vision is real, what I see in my reality by sight is temporal. So you might be poor, and you say, I see myself in my mind wealthy. I can see myself in my ideal home. I can see myself in my ideal physique. I can see myself with my ideal partner. We're having fun. I can see other people confirming and validating my new lifestyle. Although I'm single now, although I'm poor now, although I'm out of shape physically now, I can see it. And so you assume that what you see is the right and is correct. You live in that feeling. That produces reality. Gratitude is simply allowing yourself to get into that feeling of saying thank you, of saying everything I have because of grace. I may not have deserved it, I may not have earned it, but I'm grateful, I'm thankful. So you're setting up a positive vibration. This vibration then activates the attraction. The attraction then generates more of what you already have. If you take action, you achieve it. So I'm going to share with you, as I conclude gratitude, a few ways in which you must express gratitude. Number one, thoughts. Number two, feelings. Number three, words. Number four, actions. In other words, you must begin with your thoughts. Because as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. What you think about is creating your experiences. So, if you want something that you don't have, all you have to do is start being grateful as though you already have it. And it comes to you. It's such a beautiful concept, but it works. You must also be grateful in your feeling. In other words, those emotions you have inside must be from a grateful heart. You know, thoughts create your feelings, so you must be grateful in your feelings. Your feelings, in many cases, will be based on your focus. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you don't have, lack? Or are you focusing on what is coming to you in terms of provision? You see, most people will never be wealthy because they're always thinking from a place of lack. They're always thinking about what they don't have. They're always thinking about debts rather than focusing on abundance, prosperity, increase, giving, benevolence. What you focus on controls your feelings. But you must also show gratitude in what you say. You must say the blessing. You must speak gratitude. Your words must be grateful words. Someone says, "How do you feel?" And you say, "I feel fantastic." I love what W. Clemenstone always used to say. He says, "I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific." That's his words. He's grateful. Finally, you must show gratitude in what you do. You see, what you do speaks so loud, I can't even hear what you're saying. What do you do? Action is about doing. And in the sequence, it's be, do, have. Who you become decides what you do, and what you do determines what you have. Most people have the sequence wrong. Most people are waiting to receive. Say, I want to have first, then I know what I can do, then maybe I'll be happy enough to say thank you. No, you've got to reverse the equation. This is your character. And wealth is created by the person you are, not what you have. You must be grateful in character by action, and that gratitude will set up what you do, and that will set up what you have. But let me bring this to a close. The 4 pathways that I've shown you are not exhaustive. In other words, it's not everything that has to be done. No one has all the answers. I can't spend such a short time giving you every single principle that I think works and that has worked for me and that I continue to practice. What I will say is this: study, increase your wisdom, because wisdom guides you towards what you need to do and how you need to live. Wisdom is indeed the principal thing, but increase your understanding. Invest time in study. What you find is the more you raise your awareness, the more you become more open to great ideas that can help you create the wealth lifestyle that you want. Seeing that today is the final day of understanding wealth, let me bring everything to a close. Summarize what I think are the key points, but also what I want you to remember. Now, if you haven't seen any of the sessions, my recommendation really is go start from day 1. As you listen, you will have questions. Obviously, you can reach out to me, Instagram, Twitter, or any other social media forum, and send your questions. I'm happy to respond. But start from day 1, because there's a plan and a path. We began day 1 by talking about the lowest level of wealth, material wealth. And I provided a step-by-step guide on how anyone can become financially free and wealthy in less than 10 years. But more importantly, how you can pay off all debt, including your mortgage, in a short period of time of 7 or less. Then I moved to the mind, the mental level of wealth, and I talked about the importance of your mind, the importance of imagination, but more importantly, the importance of having a consciousness of wealth, of good health, happiness, joy, prosperity, good fortune, and obviously material wealth. And today, I concluded the section on spirituality and spiritual wealth, not dealing with religion, not dealing with spirituality in the deep sense, but simply talking about strategies that guide you towards expressing your true nature spiritually. And the key thing here is this: you have to know your purpose. You must have love. You must express love. You must be willing to show gratitude. It's really, really important. Have gratitude in heart. Gratitude to yourself, gratitude to other people, gratitude to life. But you need to have gratitude. You must express gratitude. And number 4, you've got to design happiness for you. Find a way to make yourself happy. Now, I hope that's been useful. I want to wish you the best of luck. I hope you find wealth, and more than anything, I hope you experience what I call holistic wealth, which is wealth under 3 levels. I think that is what each and every one of us was born to experience. The good life. I call it the good life. Living your life on your terms, doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, and enjoying this journey we call life. You see, I've always often had a thought in my mind. A thought that comes in the form of a picture, a motion picture. And in this picture, I see myself in the end. At the end of my life, I'm standing before someone I believe is my Father, my Creator, and there's a question that is asked to everyone, and a question is asked to myself. And the question is, Mensah, can you tell me about your experience? You know, you were given this opportunity to enjoy life and go through life and experience life. Can you tell me what it was like? And I'm standing there and I can't open my mouth and speak because I'm too ashamed to talk about the cars. I'm too ashamed to talk about the lifestyle that I may have lived that was just based on materialistic ways of living without really living a purposeful life. I'm too ashamed to talk about some of the things that perhaps excited me at the time, the parties, the men, the women, the lifestyle, the travel, the vacations. I can't really say anything of substance. That inspired me a number of years ago to change my ways. And that's what I want to share with you as I conclude. I want you to imagine that at the end of your life, you've been given an opportunity to explain how you lived. What is your story going to be like? What are you going to share? Are you going to share the experience you had about living a truly wealthy life? Are you going to share the journey? And are you going to have everyone listening attentively? And more than anything, are you going to have those who have not had the opportunity to journey this way excited, so excited that they can't wait to start their journey? Are you going to be so bold that you stand there and say, listen, Father, and everyone, I want you to all grab a drink. This is going to be a beautiful but a long story. Are you going to tell your story so passionately and explain how you made a difference? But more than anything, how you found yourself and how you served yourself back to the world. I think that's important. And so I'll leave this with you as I conclude the Understanding Wealth session. It's not what you have. Life does not consist of what you have in terms of material possessions. It's more about who you are. And so I'll say this to you as I conclude. And I'll say this as a question. How would you want to be remembered 100 years from today? How would you want to be remembered in terms of your legacy? How would you want to be remembered 100 years from today? Now, what I want you to do is take a piece of paper whenever you choose to sit down and write your answers down. What you find when you start writing, you will write things such as the people you had the opportunity to spend time with, the relationships you had. You'll talk about the difference, the problems you solved, the value you created. You'll find that everything you write down is different to how you're probably living now. You'll find that everything that I've shared in Understanding Wealth, and more importantly, everything that I shared in today's session, purpose, happiness, love, you'll find that a lot of those items are listed on what you write down. Now, once you're done writing it down, what you have is a script for how you should be living today. All you have to do is, by choice, decide to start acting like the person that you would love to be remembered by or by remembered for. Act like the person you want to be, and what you find is in a short while, you become that person, and 100 years from now, you'll be remembered just the way you lived. I want to wish you the best of luck. God bless.